Hello, everyone. Just going live here on 3 platforms. And I want to talk during this autumn equinox, blessed Maban, everyone, about the barren harvest. Because what I'm realizing is around this time of the year, there's a lot of people are talking about reaping the benefits and sharing food and sharing and feasting on what's grown. But what if you have a barren harvest? What if actually there's not much to show? What if there's not much to share? What if you've cast out your net and so much has come back empty? And so for any of you that are feeling that way, this is for you. And I know for me, this theme really hit home in a very somatic, real way when we went to our farm. I went to our farm that we let go fallow this year. So, for anyone that may not know that term, it just means you let it go wild. We didn't tend it in any way. We've had it for about 7 years. It's not where we live, and we just let it go feral. And conceptually, sometimes in life, we need to just let go of the things we've been caring for. And the idea is that that letting go is going to create a lot of space for more of what we want. But what if it doesn't? What if that sacrifice doesn't actually come back in the same way that you're expecting? What if there's not necessarily a return, or the return on that sacrifice isn't as clear as the return on planting a bunch of food? So I went to our farm, Worcestershire Farm, and was walking the land and feeling, wow, I have nothing to share. I have nothing to share for this year physically. Usually around this time of the year, we have so much food. I have a bunch of single moms I like to give food to. We're selling food, we're giving food, we're baking huge feasts, we're freezing food. And I went to an elderberry tree, which drawn me here, and finally hacking through to get to it, there was 7 berries left. And when I saw those 7 berries on this whole tree, I was reminded of last year where we had almost half a deep freeze full of elderberries. And I made so much medicine. I got to share so much medicine with people in our lives and the community and children. And this year, just feeling, okay, I made some decisions this year. And the harvest feels barren on the outside. So if that's the case for you, I like what I did in a ritual around a fire last night was slow down, staring into that flame, and just inviting kind of the concept of the gap and the gain. Am I focusing on the gap of lack, or am I focusing on what was gained from that? And feeling into the gap is really important too. And I think it can be easy for people to focus on don't get negative. You want to like look at all the things you did harvest, which is true, but feeling like, wow, I love being able to be generous. I love being able to have so much to share. And and so I'm getting a bit tangential, but going into that game and being like, what is it that I actually am harvesting from this? And so that'd be the question I have for you. If anything's happened this year that you're just like, that was a crapshoot, whether you're in more debt, whether things failed and flopped, as we're in equinox, it's that question of what am I harvesting? Beneath the external thing, which is clearly like, that was a fail and a half. What am I harvesting within me? Like, what is that lesson? What is that discomfort? What is beneath it? Why did I actually make the choices that I made prioritize what I did that got me in that predicament to begin with? And so that was the question that I had for myself. Staring at this fire by myself. And the irony was it was kind of this like ritual fire that we were trying to do with our community, but then there was rain and it was all just floundering. And eventually, like, the fire was made, but by the time I got there, it was just me and my son, and there was no like gathering of all the people. So here I am in this barren fire, sitting by myself with my son in the apple orchard, singing to the trees, and feeling like, what is it in our lives that continue to be available? And for me, really, it's the apples. The apples was my big harvest this year. The trees remained strong. And so feeling that energy of like a well-rooted tree that regardless of anything you do, that part of yourself that is like going to bear fruit in some way, and how to kind of tap into that essence of the generous spirit. So anyways, that was my musing around that. Curious, like if anyone has any feedback. I am on 3 different platforms, so I won't be able to respond to all of you. Welcome. And so my question in that is, especially at this time of the year, is how would I do it differently next year? Knowing for me, like to give a very real example, like this year, one of my decisions was we're going to let our farm go fallow because it's going to give me more, I'm going to be spread less thin, and I don't have the capacity to organize people. And so I let that belief kind of run itself out. I don't have the capacity. I'm spread too thin. I can only access X, Y, and Z. I need to keep small. I need to dream small. I need to like put my energy into my family. I explored that belief. And so every year I believe that we all have something that we're exploring, and that's riding out throughout the year. So I explored that belief. Okay, I see a lot of moms around me choosing that, choosing that story. And you know what? At the end of the day, it hit me that I'm not better off. I don't feel more nourished. I don't feel more replenished by taking the year off of my farm. In fact, that level of organizing that I do every year to like bring lots of help in and to like do lots of land-based projects, like it feeds me. Even if it's stretchy, even if it's like it feeds me. And I want to be creating systems of connection. I want to be stretching myself into organizing people for beauty. I want to be able to find comfort in that stretch. And for anyone that's had a baby, like there's how we explore contractions can it's all in our head, right? It can be deeply painful and something you want to avoid, or it can be, this is the sensation of birth. This is the sensation of my baby coming into the world. And so that's the question I have right now for myself is, what is the sensations inside of me that for some reason, whether it's just the Western like poisonous culture of like thought, that this isolating, this, what would you call it? I was thinking of it, I was wording it like the isolation of parenting, the isolation of like this self-sufficiency movement. Like, fuck self-sufficiency, y'all. Like, I'm not into it at all. Like, I don't feel like I feel stronger. I don't feel like I have more purpose in my life the more I do by myself. I feel like the flip is just, how do we actually make decisions so that when we are planting our seeds, when we are investing our time and our energy, when we are choosing to collaborate, that we can see that we're actually planting something that can bear fruit beyond ourselves. We're planting these experiences into the world that we cannot hold ourselves. And so to like reel it back, I do have a cell at the end of this, just to warn you. But just to reel it back, what I've got from this is it's not enough to just choose to want to grow a bunch of food to share. For me, it's not enough to call in a certain home that you want. It to call in these like exterior examples of harvest, right? Because even when I had these huge, we had hundreds of squashes last year. So many of them rotted. We couldn't take care of them. We couldn't even distribute them fast enough. So my question and my inquiry for anyone listening is, how do we fill in the gaps between what we're planting to how we're tending it to, and how we're experiencing the journey of its own natural growth? Whatever that looks like, whatever the sequence of events that come into play when you cast an intention, the opportunities and synchronicities that start to come your way. It's not enough to just have this, I want this thing, I want this experience. What I'm realizing is I want to start casting my intentions. I want to start invoking the space between. I want to start being able to be really present with the joy and the challenge and the fullness of the experience. I want to be able to delight in the expansion that comes from stretching myself. And so why I bring this up is this is like kind of segueing into an offering that I have. It's called Spinners of Fate. You can check my bio, wherever that is, whatever platform you're in, saraburns.com/events. And this will be the 28th council, intentional invocation council, though I'm trying to dub, I think that intention is not enough. I'm into this like declaration magic. That's like what I'm dubbing it all, y'all, when you're manifesting. It's like I don't even like manifesting. There's too much man in it. But a declaration magic. And realizing that in order to declare what we desire, we have to access those parts of us that can really tap into what's authentically beneath our own unique desires. And that most likely it's not going to be what the world's telling you. Because I've done that. I've tried that. I've got the home, I've got the land, I've got the husband, I've got the kids, I've got, the nice car, I've got a business I love, like all these things that I have called into being through a lot and acted into being. Like they're here. Like this is my gorgeous studio we built, right? But that's not enough. It's how do we, in this process of manifestation or declaration magic, how do we make sure that we're also bringing in the sensations of what we're desiring, bringing in how our body feels, when you wake up to your beloved in your bed, bringing into how you feel when you step out into this beautiful land that you have called in, or how do you just, even if it's not quite there for you, how can we have a far more like rich tapestry of what we're invoking through spell casting into this world? And it takes practice and there's rules. And so so if anyone's interested, it's going to be, I'll give you some details. It is for women and gender fluid folks, sorry dudes, but it's either I'm doing an online version, which I've never done before. It's always been in person. And you can drop into any of the classes. There's a class, they're about 2 hours long. There's a class that we're going to focus on the past self first. So there'll always be like a bit of study so that when we get into invoking, when we get into spell casting in a collective container of prayerful space together, we've done a bit of like inner excavation. So we're going to go into like our past self and explore what are some of the stories or the beliefs that are keeping us captive from actually accessing this greater prayer, this greater sense of desire. Because it's true, we all have pasts, and our pasts generally contain what we think is possible. So that's on October 9th for those of you that want to go online. But if you can come to Salt Spring Island, get all cozied up, I'll pour tea. That's on the 10th on a Thursday. So all this is going to be in my bio. And then we've got the present self, which is going to be November 6th if online, or the 7th. And then the future self, which is December 4th or 5th. And so each of these, going through the different parts of our life, is going to help excavate those qualities of ourselves and our fullness that we need to kind of bring more on board. Because sure, there's actions that need to take place in, like, you can't just intend and manifest without doing action. I believe aligned action is part of it. But realizing that we can source the power and the wisdom of our future self, we'll be journeying and letting them kind of help influence us. We'll be working with what's currently around us in our present self, like where are the leaks of our energy, where is the constrictions, where are areas or people in our life or opportunities that are hindering our ability to stretch into the possibilities. So if you're interested, put it in the comments, interested, or reach out privately to me. And blessed equinox, y'all. Have a beautiful one. Ciao.